Hello, my name is Amber, and I am a group fitness instructor at the University of Cincinnati. Today we're going to be doing a gentle yoga practice, particularly with a focus on back bends. One of my favorite categories of yoga poses. So let's come to the yoga mat over here. And the main thing you'll need today basically is just your yoga mat. Maybe a blanket if you would like to have one. It's optional. Maybe a block if you'd like to have one. Again, optional. But you don't necessarily have, there aren't any things you necessarily have to have for today's practice other than your yoga mat. And then, anything else you want to add. If you want to have a blanket, I like to have one to sit on and things like that. Or if you want to have a block to do things like bringing the floor up to you. Different poses and things like that. You can have that, but if you don't have it, it's really no big deal. You will not necessarily need to have it for today's practice. Of course, depending on what your individual needs are. Yeah, I can't speak for everyone because everybody's unique body is different. So what one person might need for a pose might, someone else might need a different thing. So of course, trust yourself here and try to use the options that are provided and go with the flow of the practice. And above all, just try to enjoy it. Find something that feels good to you. Take a break, take a drink of water or break anytime that you need to, and try to just have fun with it. So let's go ahead and find a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you today. So I like to sit cross-legged. Seat is good. I like to sit on a blanket to elevate my hips. I find personally that it helps to release any pinching or tension I might get in my lower back. So if you're someone who gets any little achiness in your lower back when you're seated, then I would recommend that for you. Otherwise, you could just sit straight on the floor if that feels comfortable to you as well. The main thing is to just sit up tall, so finding a good posture with your upright spine, sitting bones root down towards the floor, while the crown of your head lengthens up, gaze can be out forward, you can even close your eyes if you'd like, and then try to relax it, keeping your shoulders relaxed down, away from your ears, allowing any tension in your body as you sit upright to soften, even just a little. And we'll just start by taking a little moment here to connect to our breath. So just gently breathe in and out through your nose. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. And breathe out. Try to stay with this breath as best as you can throughout our practice today. And as we sit here, taking a little moment of stillness in our seat, connecting to our breath, I invite you to take a moment to set an intention for your practice. So I mentioned back bends for today's practice, and I particularly am fond of back bends because they have helped me to release chronic back pain. I haven't had anything serious so far, fortunately. But I think a lot of us, even just from sitting or different postural things, we can get there can be a load on our lumbar or lower back at times, or even different also in our shoulders and upper back too. We can just, I think it's pretty common to have tension or pain in those areas, even whether it's something serious or not. And I found that doing back bends my back has responded really positively to that. So I do like to give that as it's one of my go-to type of poses that I'll try if clients come in to me with back pain or issues, within reason, depending on their needs. I tend to have them try some back bends to see if that helps. So hopefully if you're in that position, maybe some of these back bends that we do today, along with other poses as well, to keep it balanced, will help you. The other thing with back bends is that they're considered, in our yoga practice, they're considered our heart openers. So you're kind of opening up through your chest. You're opening yourself up to a point of vulnerability, of exposing yourself, so exposing who you really are. So maybe your intention is to consider how you can really put your true, authentic self out there without the fear of judgment from others. As well as figuring out who you really are, like who is that person, like behind the curtain, if you will, or within ourselves. Who are we when nobody else is around, if you will. It's also opening up our hearts. We're opening our chest, the area of our heart. So maybe considering how we might be able to expand our own circles of compassion and empathy and love towards ourselves and others. So anything that speaks to you within that, or anything else you are wanting to focus on today, just kind of stay here with that breath and that intention of what you're going to put the energy of your practice on the mat towards today. And if your eyes are closed, go ahead and open them. Inhale, reach your arms overhead, stretch your fingertips up towards the sky. Exhale, send your hands behind you, and if you can, try clasp your hands behind your back. And squeeze your shoulder blades together, almost like you're trying to squeeze a pencil in between your shoulder blades as you lift to open up through your chest. Take one more breath in here. And exhale, release that out. You can just kind of shake out your arms a little bit, roll your shoulders up and back a few times, releasing any tension there. Kind of check in with your neck, shake your head yes, shake your head no, just kind of feel it out. And then from here, we'll slide your feet behind you, scoot off a blanket if you're sitting on one, and make your way onto your hands and knees for tabletop. Shoulders over your wrists, hips over your knees, fingers spread wide for a good firm foundation, flat back. And we'll move into some cat and cow. Inhale, look forward, into your cow, tailbone tilts up, open up through your chest. And exhale, draw your navel into your spine, tailbone tilts towards the earth for cat. Inhale, sway forward into your cow. And exhale to round into your cat. And just continue a few more of these here, just gently warming up your spine. And just go, of course, at your own pace, with your own breath. Take your time. And then make your way eventually back to your tabletop or back to your hands and knees. And from here, we'll sink your seat to your heels for child's pose. Knees can be close together or apart. You might choose to stretch your arm in front of you. That can provide a really nice stretch through your upper back and your shoulders. You might form a pillow with your hands. That's another option. Or you can even kind of like curl up like a ball here and place your hands along your side. So whatever is feeling good to you. And if you haven't tried some of these, feel free to, experiment and try different ones to see what you like the best. I just know that you can come back to this or any other resting place at any time in the practice. Take another breath here. And then press down through the palms of your hands, come back up to tabletop, and this time fingers spread wide, curl your toes under, and come to form the upside down V with your body for our first downward dog of today's practice. Feel free to kind of stretch it out a little, maybe walk it out a little bit, stretching your calves, the backs of your legs. Shake your head loose if you want, shoulders relaxed, navel drawn in towards your spine for downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees. Inhale, step your feet forward to meet your hands. And exhale, fold forward. First one of the day, definitely feel free to put a little bend in your knees. It's normal to feel a little more stiff when we're first getting started, especially if it's in the morning that you're doing this practice. You can always, if you do have a block or a book or something, you can always put that underneath your hands to bring the floor up to you if you'd like. Or your hands could just hang out. They may or may not touch the floor. Shoulders relaxed. Feel a little length in your spine. And then press down to your feet. Inhale, slowly roll up to standing a little bit at a time. Head and shoulders will come up last. Take a few breaths here as you step towards the top of your mat here, connecting in mountain pose to Tadasana. So feet can be close together or up to hip width apart, but really ground to your feet. So feet parallel, really root down, stand sturdy through both feet, but also lengthening up through the crown of your head. So you're having a contrast between rooting down and lengthening up. Shoulders relaxed down and back, navel drawn in slightly, standing up in a good upright posture for mountain pose. Take your left hand to your waist. Inhale, right arm reaches up. Exhale, send it over. Alongside your ear, if that feels okay. Side body stretch. Take a breath in. And out. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, other side. Take your right hand to your waist. Left arm reaches up and over. And take a breath here. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, release your hands down to your waist. And from your mountain pose, we're going to play around with a little modified camel. So it's kind of a little baby back bend, going over some of the ways to practice a back bend safely. So one common misconception that people sometimes have about back bends is that a lot of times people will think that the back bend is supposed to take place in your lumbar spine, which is the very lower part of the back here. I'm kind of pointing, not your sacrum. Your sacrum is like the very bottom of your back, right above that in your lower back. And you really want the back bend to be more your thoracic spine, or like up here, because cervical spine is like where your neck is, and then thoracic, and then lumbar, if that makes sense. But you don't have to, it's not an anatomy lesson here that we're doing. The basic point is that you don't want to have pinching in your lower back, so you just want to be mindful of that. And of course, with back bends, as with anything, if you feel any pinching or pain, come out of the pose, modify. Maybe you don't have to, it's not about seeing how deep you can go. You want to go to where it feels right for your body, not to what's going to look the coolest or feel like you're, going into the full pose or whatever. That's not really what it's about. We don't want to hurt ourselves, getting into these, but they can be super beneficial, so I do like to teach them. So what I like to do is place a hand on my waist and then place a hand on my lower back. This is going to help me to ensure that I'm not, kind of help to me to keep in check with that area to make sure it's being supported. Inhale, stand up tall. So you want to start by lengthening first. So lengthen your spine by lengthening up through the crown of your head. So crown of your head looks like you're trying to lift it up a little higher towards the ceiling. And then from here, we're going to engage your core to support your spine. So just kind of draw your stomach in a little bit. Not like crazy, not to where you can't breathe, but a little bit here. And then start to shift your hips forward first, and then draw your shoulders back, and then start to kind of squeeze your shoulder blades together a little bit as you engage your core a little bit of time, start to come back. And again, make sure that you're not pinching that lower back, and then open up through your chest. Take one more breath in, and one more breath out. It's a little modified camel pose. And then inhale, engage your core to support you as you come back up. And then take a breather, take a breath in, and take a breath out. So that's kind of the basics of any of our back bends, even the ones that, they'll look different sometimes. We do them from different forms, which we'll play around with some today. But anyway, so from there, let's take a break from that. Let's step your right foot back behind you and just come to a wide leg stance for a little bit here, so that your toes are facing towards the long end of your mat. Take your hands to your waist, make sure your hips are level and facing forward. We'll pivot on your right foot, so your right toes are facing out towards the short side of your mat. Check to make sure your right heel is in line with your left arch. Inhale your arms up to a T, legs are straight. You can always pop a little micro bend that right knee if you need to. And just begin to reach as far as you can out with that right hand and tilt into our Trikonasana, triangle pose. Shoulders stacked, chest lifted. Do not worry about where your right hand is on your leg. And just take a couple breaths here, noticing anywhere you feel stretch or an opening in your triangle pose. And breathe in. Breathe out. And then press down to your feet. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, release your arms to the side and pivot on your, we're going to switch your feet out. So pivot on your right foot so your toes are facing in front of you and open your left toes out to the side. Check your heel and your arch, all your alignment. Inhale, arms up to a T. And exhale, begin to tilt into your triangle pose on the other side. And give out the spine. If you want a little more core workout here, you can always try lifting that bottom hand for a second and using your core to support this. Just another variation. Let's take another breath here, wherever you're at. And then press down through your feet. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, release your hands to the side. Pivot on your left toe so both toes are facing in front of you once again. And clasp your hands behind your back. Let's switch it. So it might feel a little weird, but whatever thumb is normally on top, let's switch that out, followed by every other finger after that. Just to mix it up a little bit. You can put a little bend in your micro bend in your knees as you inhale, lengthen, stand up tall, and then exhale, tilt forward. Fold forward into your right leg forward fold. Let's take one breath in here, squeezing the shoulder blades together, reaching your wrists up towards the ceiling. And then optional to stay there, or exhale, you can lower your hands down to the floor, to your shins, or your ankles, whatever is working for you. So that's your choice. Finding your right leg forward fold. We'll just pause, take about 3 breaths here. Come back to your breath if needed. Come back to that intention that you set for the practice. Take a moment to check in with yourself. So important. Keep a little bend in your knees if you want, or straighten your legs. That's up to you. And then press down through your feet. Inhale, arms up to your waist, and slowly make your way all the way back up to standing. And then from here, you can kind of just heel toe, your feet together. And step back up to the top of your mat, back up to your mountain pose. We're going to do something a little different here for our balance pose today. Technically, it might put you in a little bit of back bend. It might not, depending on how you do it. But start in your mountain pose, and just start by rooting down, standing really strong, really sturdy through your right foot, through your right leg. Take your arms out to a T, okay? And we're going to start to bring that right hand forward, so it's just a little bit in front. So it's not right in front of you, but it's not right out to the side. It's kind of in the middle. And then from there, start to play around with lifting your left heel and just standing on one foot. This might be your practice today, and that's totally cool. I like to keep the left arm out to the side for balance to get started. So this could be your balancing practice. If you look forward, you can find a steady gazing point or a drishti, something on the horizon to focus on. That can help. And then optional, maybe, and just maybe, you bend that left knee, and with your left hand, reach back for your foot. Now try to keep your knee from veering out to the side like this. This is what you don't want to do. It's bad for your knee, so try to keep your knee in line with your hip as you kind of kick your foot into your hand. Optional to stay here, or you might start to bring your chest a little forward. If you start doing a little jig here, that's okay. This is dancer pose, not a Ranjasana. Take one more breath here, wherever you're at. In. And exhale gently. Release everything down. And shake it off a little bit. Shake it out. Let it go. Let it loose. And if you fell out of the pose, again, no big deal. We're opening up our hearts to explore, to be open-minded to practice, and also to be kind and accepting to ourselves wherever we're at in our journey. So let's try the other side, and it might feel different. So starting your mountain pose, let's root down through your left foot this time. It's also a good quad stretch too. Anyway, you lift that right down through your left foot, sturdy but not forcing. Bring your arms out to a T. Start to find that gazing point to focus on as you bring your left arm a little bit out in front, but a little off to the side here as I'm doing. And then from here, just start to play around at first. Feel out your balance, because this side might feel different. It does for me. And start to pick up your right foot. And just, again, if you're just standing on one foot today, that's your balance practice. That's awesome. Totally cool. Another option, of course, is that maybe you bring your foot into your hand. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you come forward. And maybe you jiggle or wobble a little bit. That's okay too. Wherever you go, continue to breathe in and breathe out. This is not my good side, but that's okay. We're going to do this. Take one more breath in here. Find your dancer pose. Exhale, release, shake it out. Do a little dance. Let it go. Let it loose. Let it free. And then from here, we're going to come to our mountain pose. You can always deal with a wall too, by the way, especially if you're a beginner. You could use a wall and then grab your foot and just practice. And even just like getting the quad stretch, you can do that and still get a really nice stretch through your quads, even if the balance thing isn't working for you. There's no shame in using a wall either. You just want to make sure, again, that there's no pain in your knee and that you're not letting your knee veer out to the side, you know, and all of that. But you can definitely put the other hand on the wall too if you want. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, come back to our mountain pose. Take a breath for a minute. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Enjoy being sturdy, standing on 2 feet. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead. And exhale, dive forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. This time, inhale, look up, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Take a breath here. And then from here, bend your knees however much you need to place your hands on the floor beside your feet and step back to downward facing dog. Now, option 1 is to stay in downward dog here. Totally fine. Option 2, if this is part of your practice, you could do a little flow here by just simply inhale to shift forward to plank. Exhale to lower, 8-point pose or chaturanga. Inhale to cobra. We've done this in some other videos, and I plan to do another video breaking this down more again as well. But if that's not part of your practice at this time, you can just hang out in downward dog and make any stretches, movements that feel good to you there. Let's take one more breath in wherever you're at. And then exhale, lower your knees down to the earth. Brief child pose. Take a breath in and out. Inhale, shift forward. Make your way back to a comfortable seat. Optional to sit on a blanket if you'd like. Come back to a cross-legged seat, kind of like where we started at today. Sitting with your upright spine. This time, inhale, sweep your arms overhead. And exhale, send your right hand to your left knee. Take your left hand behind you, turn to look out over your left shoulder. So just coming to a simple seated twist today. Inhale, as you inhale, sit up tall first. So start to lengthen your spine first, and then exhale to twist from there. Take one more breath here. Inhale, look forward, gently unwind from your twist. This time, inhale, reach your arms overhead again. And exhale, other side. Turn to look out over your right shoulder and into your twist here. If you have a block, you can even take it underneath that back hand to kind of bring the floor up to you. So that's another option as well. That can be helpful for some, but you don't have to have it. Take a couple more breaths here. And then inhale, look forward, gently unwind from your twist. So from here, we're going to scoot off your blanket again and actually make your way all the way down onto your stomach. So take a few moments here to transition into lying on your stomach. Of course, this is not something I would suggest for anyone who is in any stages of pregnancy. Just throwing that out there. This is not a prenatal class, but just thought I would mention that. But anyway, it's really safe otherwise for most people. So, starting by lying on your stomach, what I'm going to start with, we'll do is come onto your forearms. So bring your hands back, bring your elbows back a little bit, and start to lift your chest, shoulders over your elbows. Navel's drawn in just a little bit. It's really easy in this pose to just kind of hang out and let your stomach kind of relax here. But I do suggest just a tiny bit to draw your navel in, because that's going to help support your spine and prevent any pinching or pain in your lower back. Shoulders relaxed, down and back. Chest very subtly comes forward, but you might not even notice that part because it's really, really subtle. Your gaze is just out on the floor in front of you, so we're not really craning your head up or down. Our Sphinx pose. Glutes are relaxed. Sometimes there's a tendency here for people to engage the glutes, but that's not necessary. Glutes can just relax, legs can just relax behind you. And this can be really good kind of therapy for back pain. It can feel really nice. So just notice if you feel any release in your back here. And I know this pose is a kind of a more simple pose, but sometimes it's good to recognize that we can get benefits even just from simple poses like this without doing a crazy thing, turning ourselves into a pretzel all the time. Anyway, let's take a few more breaths here. Breathe in. Breathe out. Come to that's your intention. How might you open your heart up to others? How might you open your heart to include others who maybe are different than you or seem like they're different than you in some way? And opening your heart up to hearing and acknowledging their feelings and experiences, as well as sharing your own from a place of love. And the next exhale, just gently bring your chest slightly forward and lower everything down. Just rest your chin to one side for a moment here. Take a breather. And then from here, we'll bring your hands back so that your thumbs are in line with your ribs. Tops of your feet are pressing into the floor. Draw your shoulders back. And then start to draw your shoulder blades together as you lift your chest up a little bit at a time, coming into a cobra pose. And notice how that feels. Exhale, release, lower everything back down. Rest your chin to the other side. Take a breath. And we'll do the cobra again. This time, inhale, lift up. And just do a little baby cobra. So just lift up a little bit. But try to see if you can, tops of your feet are still pressed into the floor, but try to see if you can lift your hands off the floor this time. And it doesn't have to be a lot, it can be less than an inch. But the idea here is that we're taking your arms out of it. Instead of relying on your arms to support you, we're really using your back strength to lift you up here. So notice your shoulder blades, what they're doing, bringing them together, engage your core a little bit so you're not pinching your lower back. And notice how it feels. Take one more breath in here. And then exhale, release, lower back down. And rest your chin to one side. So you can breathe in. Do one more cobra. This one can be any of your choice. You can do a low cobra, maybe you lift your hands again. You can do a little higher cobra. That's what I'm going to do just to show another variation. But either way, apply all the things we just talked about. Inhale, lift up, make sure it feels good. And find your cobra pose. And then exhale, release, lower back down, and rest your chin to one side. Or rest your head to one side. And breathe. Okay, so from here now we're going to move your arms back so that your arms are straight alongside your body. Inhale, keep your legs on the floor. Inhale, lift your shoulders, lift your chest, lift your arm up. Again, using the muscles of your upper back, just notice how that feels. Exhale, release, lower down. Rest your head. And this time opposite, inhale, lift your legs up. Try to reach your feet back. See if you can lift your knees, your quads a little bit more, but with your rest of your body, with your chest, your head, your arms on the floor. Exhale, release, lower that down. And then we're going to put it all together. Just take a breath for a moment. And then, if you can, next inhale. I want you to inhale, lift everything you can from this position for locust pose, Shalabhasana. So crown your head lengthens forward, feet reach back, arms, legs are lifted. And really feeling that stretch along the front of your body while strengthening the muscles on the back of your body. Take one more breath in here. And exhale, release, lower it back down. We'll do it one more time. Take a breath. And then inhale, lift back up into your locust pose. Any amount's fine. If you can, I would challenge you to see if you can lift your legs and your arms a little higher Also notice, a lot of times it's easy to lift the chest. I find it really easy to lift the chest, more so than the legs. So maybe see if you can lift your legs a little higher. Take one more breath in, and then exhale, release down, and rest for a moment. Breathe in, and breathe out. And then we'll bring your hands forward and press back up to your tabletop. This time take your knees out wide, like about as wide as your mat. If you can, bring your big toes to touch and sink your seat to your heels for a wide knee child pose. Come back to your breath. Come back to your intention. Take a couple more breaths here. And then inhale, come back up to tabletop. This time we're going to slide your feet over to one side and shift to a seat with your knees bent in front of you and your feet on the floor. Then from here, we'll take your hands behind you, fingers spread wide. You can always fan the fingers out to the side a little bit to protect your wrists a little more, like I'm doing here. And shoulders over your wrist. Flat back, start to draw your shoulder blades together. Option one is just to play around with lifting up through your chest here. So just start drawing those shoulder blades together again, almost like you're squeezing that pencil between your shoulder blades, lifting up through your chest. Option two is you might press your feet into the floor and start to lift your hips up, coming into a reverse tabletop. From here, you can either look forward, or if it feels okay in your neck, you can very gently and carefully tilt your head back. Reverse tabletop. Take one more breath in here. If your hips are lifted, maybe even lift them a little higher. And then exhale, release, gently lower everything back down. So we'll keep your hands where they're at. Doing another variation of this, which is a reverse plank. You simply straighten your legs. And option one is to keep your hips on the floor and just play around with the motion of lifting, opening your chest, bringing your shoulders together, coming to a little back bend here from your seat. Or option two, you can start to lift your hips up, coming into a reverse plank. Everyone's favorite pose, right? Let's take one more breath in. And exhale, release. I'm going to do one more of these. I'll give you your choice. So you can either do either one with your hips on the floor, or you can do the reverse plank, like we just stay with your legs straight, or the reverse tabletop with your knees bent, which is where I'm going to go into. And we'll take a few breaths here, yogi's choice. Inhale, lift up a little bit at a time into your back bend of choice. Continue to breathe in. Continue to breathe out. Take one more breath in here, and maybe you lift your hips a little bit higher. See how that feels. And then exhale, gently lower everything back down a little bit at a time. Bring your arms forward. I'll just take a moment to do a little circle with your wrists in one direction, just in case there is any pressure on our wrists in that pose. And then opposite direction. Take a moment, maybe shake out your wrist a little too if that feels good. And then from here, knees still bent in front of you, feet on the floor. A little bit of time, we're just going to slowly lower all the way down. Engage your core, really use your abs here to slowly lower you down onto the floor, and let your hands rest to the side, palms facing down. Bring your feet in so your knees are over your ankles. We'll press your feet into the floor and inhale to lift your lower, mid, and upper back, coming into your bridge pose. See how that feels. Take a breath in. And then exhale, release, lower down, upper, mid, and lower back. We'll do that one more time. This one I'll give you the option to stay here longer, like 3 or 4 breaths if you'd like. Inhale, lift up again, lower, mid, and upper back. Try to make sure your chin isn't coming right in towards your chest here. Optional, you can stay here. Totally fine. You might like to play around with lifting your heels off the floor, coming onto your toes. Another option, you might like to play around with walking your shoulder blades closer together, clasping your hands underneath your back. So any of these are fine. And come back to your intention one more time. How are you opening your heart? How are you, expressing your true self from a place of vulnerability? How are you holding space for others to do the same? How are you having compassion? Take one more breath in if you haven't already. Exhale, release, lower down, upper, mid, and lower back one vertebrae at a time. And from here, we'll just bring your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little hug here. Maybe rock a little from side to side. And just kind of let it feel good. A little release here. On your back, take a moment to notice how you feel. Optional from here. We didn't do a whole lot of hip opening today, so if you want, you could take a happy baby. Up to you. So that option would mean you just take your knees out wider, and with your hand you can just reach for your ankles, outside your feet, your pants leg, whatever you can reach for here. You can even rock a little from side to side here as well. You can stay here. You can try extending your legs a little bit more like this. So different variations that you can play around with. And just do what you can. Or if you don't feel comfortable with that, you could just stay here hugging your knees into your chest, called folded pose. So just take another breath here, whichever one of those you're in. And then if you haven't already, you will bring your knees back together. Lower your feet down to the floor and extend your legs out in front of you. Stretch your legs out, stretch your arms back, including with a full body stretch. Really stretch your body long. We'll take one more big breath in through your nose. And exhale, big sigh out through your mouth as you let your arms rest to the side. And start to make any final movements or adjustments that you're feeling today for our final corpse pose, Shavasana, relaxation. So definitely you want to get as comfortable here as you are able to. So that can mean whatever it means for you. Like really just trust yourself here to know what that is. It may mean putting socks back on, maybe putting a blanket on. If you want to put something under your knees, if you have like tension in your back when you're lying down, you can either roll something up or put like a pillow under your knees, or you could put bend your knees and take your feet out wide and rest your knees on each other. You take a blanket or a pillow underneath your head if you want. Just take your time here to get as comfortable and supported as you can. Complete release, complete relaxation. And just recognize the importance of this pose. It really gives ourselves time to release all the physical efforts from our bodies and absorb the benefits of our practice that we did today. So, let your back relax against the floor. Let your shoulders relax down. So your eyes gently close. Return back to a natural breath. And just let yourself settle in here. Place a complete love and support for yourself at this time to take care and release. Release just for these next few minutes today for Shavasana. some quiet time to just be with yourself. Try to be present in the moment rather than thinking about what's next. And just be. Take about one more minute here. Begin to deepen your breath, drawing energy back into your body. And start to make any little stretches or movements that feel good to you. And just kind of wiggle your fingers, your toes, gently stretch your arms and your legs. Kind of bring yourself back out into the rest of your day. Eventually, you'll bring your knees in towards your chest and gently roll over to your right side and just pause for a moment here in fetal pose and just continue to rest in fetal pose for another moment or two. Compassion is the ultimate expression of your highest self, Russell Simmons. And mindfully begin to make your way back up to your seat. And as you do so, just take a brief moment here of gratitude towards yourself for taking this time out of your day to come to the mat, to be intentional and move your body. Inhale, reach your arms overhead one more time, kind of taking in all the positive energy we've created in today's practice. Exhale and bring it down to your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. And I hope to see you back again, and know that you can come back to this at any time. And as always, take really good care of yourself. Thank you so much. Bye.